You're watching TVC Breakfast. The Nigeria Labour Congress will be holding a national protest day today in Abuja.
President of the NLC, Ayuba Waba, says the protest is to register workers' displeasure at the violence meted on its members who picketed the residence of the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, last Wednesday. The Labour Union wants President Muhammadu Buhari to break his silence over the status of the appointment of Frank Okori as Chairman, Board of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF. Joining me to discuss this is a public affairs analyst, Dr. Dokun Adedeji. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Now, this has been a lingering issue, and this time Labour says it's taking action, picketed the residence of Labour and Employment Minister, but it turned bloody. And now they're planning a protest march today.
Some things befuddle me in terms of how they happen. This is something that should not get to this level. Appointment of someone into a board, and it's getting to a point that they needed to protest about it. I think that's rather shoddy from both the government and union. I don't think union should get to a point that in contesting that appointment, and then they need to go to the residence. That is like invading his privacy. They could do that on the street of Abuja or do whatever, but not to go to his house. And then that could turn the way it had turned. I think it would be better handled.
All right.
Than this.
Okay, but then if you consider that this matter has been on for over a year now, the appointment was, his name was sent for appointment and all that, only for news to filter in later that a replacement has been made.
How can you replace a person that you have not inaugurated?
A new name has been selected to be inaugurated.
It also speaks to, there's something that bothered me about the Buhari government. It's about his appointment and then the nature of how it's handled. And if a man has not been perfected, if a name has not been, why then announce it? And then why should it become a bone of contention to be on the board? I mean, it shows some shoddiness in the affairs of how the president has handled it as well. Well,
let's now talk about the planned protest by the NLC. After the picketing last week that turned bloody, the minister spoke out that, okay, no, even if they would protest, it should have been maybe to the NLC, to his office, and not necessarily his residence. Labour plans to protest there. What do you think should be the focus or the dimension?
The thing also that still worries me, why should this necessitate a Labour Congress protest? Is there the room for communication? Has it broken down that they could not speak to someone who is in charge and then they can deal with it instead of protesting? I think Labour could handle things better. You see, the thing also is the pettiness of that pervades our nation. If Labour is protesting over the appointment of one person, where have they been since the National Assembly has been a bone in the throat of every Nigerian? Have they ever spoken about that, about the rate of corruption in the country, about the pervading sense of hopelessness? And that does not really bother them enough to protest, but they need to protest about Kokori. I think it's grandstanding. For me, that's the way I will consider it.
So let's get your opinion about a standard or a more diplomatic or a better way of carrying out these appointments.
Absolutely, just what I'm saying. You see, if Labour has a precedent and then that can deal face to face with either the minister, why should they not take that route and then say, look, we'd like to speak with someone who can speak on this matter, instead of grandstanding and then protesting and then, you see, protests can be hijacked. Something that is altruistic and then turn out to be wrong. I think they would have handled it better. For me, it's just plain grandstanding.
Doctor, let me start with you on this. I was asking a question earlier. Do you think the Labour is taking this issue too far?
Not necessarily. If you deal, I've been a unionist, starting from the university when I became a student and a president. If you look at the language of government over time, since the first strike began some centuries back, you discover that the only language government seems to understand is when labor forcefully go on protest. So if you ask me, in all honesty, I would say that they are not taking it too far.
But if we go back to the picketing on Wednesday, many have criticized Labour for taking that protest to the doorstep of the minister's private residence in Abuja? Dr. Adedeji.
Look, absolutely. You see, I understand what my friend is saying. People should understand responsibility. The fact that one is a unionist does not mean you take laws into your hands or do things that are totally arbitrary. Look, they can get better results than protest. It's the same thing, the language. People think the language of force gets things. It doesn't get things done. It protracts it, and then it makes it worse. Look, even if strike had been the language, we should show some sophistication with the things we do over time, and then present. Labour can say, look, we know this is wrong, but this is the way we like to tackle it, and people will listen. But look, let me tell you, this will not stop the government from doing what they will do, and they will put themselves at ridicule. I'm worried about the attitude of Labour in Nigeria. Do they pick the issues that are important and germane to the ordinary man? I said the other time, National Assembly has been there for ages doing the things they do. When has Labour picketed them? And then you now picket the Labour man because they chose someone. Yes, the government was shoddy in the arrangement of it, no doubt about it, and was completely unnecessary. But it could have been better handled both ways.